Hello and welcome to Night 5 of the Adventures of the Bailey School Kids. Knights Don't Teach Piano by Debbie Dady and Marsha Thornton Jones. Where we left off, Howie was having a very romantic...
Some sensual practice going on.
Piano practice with Lance E. Lott. And Eddie was wandering around the house alone. He was walking down a hallway. He opened a door.
And he was
surprised
by...
something surprising on the other side. Chapter 5 is called Feed You! P-H-E-E-W exclamation point for those of you taking notes. Holy Toledo, Eddie gasped. I keep changing everybody's voices. He stumbled into a big hall. A huge round table stood exactly in the center of the room. The table wasn't what made Eddie gasp, though. Ah! Oh, God! Oh, Jesus! Oh, sweet Jesus! Oh, sorry, I thought you were somebody else. My grandma, she has this table that's in our garage.
And it reminded me of...
It's terrifying.
Yes.
I had a bad experience once.
And I thought you were...
Table. I thought it was you.
It wouldn't have made sense. But...
I'm sorry. Look, I don't think that all tables, just because I had one bad experience with one table, I'm not that kind of guy. Like, I don't think that all tables are...
Okay, I'm afraid of tables. You don't have to push it in.
Look, I'm trying to get better. I really am. I'm sure you're a very nice person. I just...
You have tables. It's our relationship. It's a step back. We can work forward again. We just gotta start over.
Teach me to love tables again. Well, let's do some finger exercises first.
What does this have to do with the table?
The table wasn't what made Eddie gasp, though.
Oh,
It was what sat in the 6 throne-like chairs surrounding the table. Every chair but one had a suit of brightly polished armor sitting upright in it. Slowly, Eddie inched...
It's like walking to your house and just seeing, like...
just a bunch of bodies.
Mannequins just kind of sitting
That
in
would be frightening.
Like,
you know
put
what?
this here?
I'll give Eddie that.
Mom, Dad, did you put those there?
Yeah.
No.
It must have been the table. Eddie has a fear of tables.
He does.
Established. Slowly, Eddie inched his way to one of the suits of armor. With trembling fingers, he lifted the visor on the helmet and peered inside. What would be hilarious is if there was somebody inside. Like, just imagine, okay, but here's the thing. If there were
legitimately scary.
If there were people, but again, this is not his house.
Right.
So imagine we're over at our friend's house. It is our hobby to dress up in suits of armor. We go over, we're sitting around a table chatting,
and
the door
somebody just
opens,
walks in.
We all kind of stop and stare, and this kid just inches up to you and is just like...
Do you move, or...
Yeah, just like,
It depends if you're caught in the act. Like, oh shoot. We should...
Yeah.
Like, oh no, they found us.
Caught in the act. Like,
role-playing.
The anti-medieval role-playing conservatives. So slowly Eddie inched over, he opened it up. Empty, Eddie said.
Oh man, I thought it was...
Full! It's full of a human being! This suit of armor's full of eyeballs!
Rotted.
Empty.
Dead human. I mean, that would be worst case scenario.
It's like Psycho. He lifts it up and he's like, yeah, is that your mother? No, my entire family is dead in the next room.
No, that's my sister. That's my mother.
Dressed up in suits of armor.
Isn't that right, mother?
Oh, kill him, mother? Kill Eddie, mother? Yes. Yes, mother.
He needs to be shiny? Yes, they all need to be shiny.
You're right, mother. Your little boy wouldn't hurt a fly, but because but I'm you and all that Hitchcockian bullshit. Empty. He backed away from the table as if he expected the suits of armor to jump up and grab him, or, the table. What a weird thing for someone to have in his house. Hasn't Lance ever heard of a big screen TV? Because those two things are mutually exclusive. There is
you can either have
in Bailey City
suits of armor.
There's an ordinance. You can either have 7 suits of armor or a big screen TV.
Your choice.
We'll
leave it up to you.
And trust me, you harbor both in your house, and the secret police are going to come and take you away.
Twice a year, once every 6 months, they come in and do a search.
Bailey City's got a pretty good police auction, though. It's literally all big screen TVs and suits of armor that have been confiscated from
households who harbor two of this.
It's a sickness in this city. Eddie turned to leave when he heard a creak. He looked at the ghost-like suits of armor. All right, Eddie yelled. Which one of you moved? Again, you're a person.
It was me.
And you're
I did it.
Yeah, sorry, it was me.
I heard you in my house sneaking around. Oh, you got me.
I was watching another one of those ghost shows I was watching yesterday. It was called like A Haunting. And it was reenactments of these people who were, who had experienced demonic like entities in their houses and ghosts and poltergeists and whatever. And it blew my mind. Every episode, somebody's walking downstairs going, "Hello, who's there?"
We know you're here.
Never once have I heard a weird noise in my house and investigated. Never once, because what's going to happen? You're going to go downstairs. Who's there? And then the response is going to be,
something's in the attic. Let's go look.
Somebody might run away, but if it is somebody, they might, panic and do the only thing they can think of. Like if they have a gun, they're
I'm like, I heard something.
Right, pretty much. I'm just like, it's nothing. Because
Until you know it's something, and then probably fight or flight. Probably flight.
Oh yeah. Flight all the time. No, some nights I'll lay in bed awake and I'll think, okay, if a burglar burst into my house, what would I do? Well, I don't have any blunt objects nearby, so basically I would, go into a crawl space and just lay there. Like my go-to escape from bad guys, if I can get outside, is just to run straight back into the woods and fall down and lay very still.
Right.
And then you're in the underbrush, right?
Yeah, so and they move, it's those viral videos of like somebody scares and some punch them in the face. I'll just be like, ah! Some people do. Some people's reaction is, not quite mine.
None of the suits answered. Oh, big surprise, Eddie. So Eddie inched back over to the table and slowly, as if he were afraid it would bite, lifted another visor. Again, like this is a situation of what if you lift that up and there is an adult inside? I mean, again, then
it's kind of eerie as it is.
But if there are adults in here, they're literally like, there's a child in here, just sit very still. There's something, I mean, obviously, look, they're friends with Sir Lance E. Lot, who runs around with two guys dressed up as a horse. So, these people are not mentally sound. Eddie, I would not continue this activity if I were you. Don't do it, Eddie! Don't do it!
Get out of there!
Is this too scary for you? You gonna have nightmares tonight?
It's getting, yeah.
It's getting pretty intense. Eddie ran around the table and lifted each visor. Every suit of armor was empty. Surprise. Eddie was... Oh, sorry. Eddie even banged on a couple of chests just to be sure they were hollow, like there was a little person.
There's no head.
Oh God! These suits of armor each have a baby inside them.
Oh my God! What do I do?
Eddie even banged on a couple of chests. If you're all empty, then what made that sound? Eddie asked the suits. Surprise, the armor didn't answer, but something else did. A noise came from behind a heavy purple velvet curtain. Oh, this is some Hamlet shit. It was Polonius.
It is I, the wizard.
Is it a wizard?
No, I don't know.
Oh, I was just thinking of Hamlet, like, he's... Right. Eddie grabbed the spear from the wall and stabbed
and it was his friend. It was his friend.
It was Howie looking for him. Oh, God!
Eddie. Why?
Why, Eddie? Eddie pushed the curtain aside and looked out the window. The door to a stone building was swinging in the breeze as if someone had just run through it. Whatever you are, Eddie said, I've got you Sorry, a noise came from behind a heavy purple velvet curtain, and he pushed the curtain aside and looked out the window. Okay, I thought he just pulled the curtain aside. There was a big gaping hole in the wall. And I'm like, that might account for the strange noises.
There's a big rabbit hole. Oh.
Yeah, each of these are full of fucking squirrels and acorns. Okay, then there was the door to a stone building was swinging in the breeze as if someone had just run through it. Again, he's skulking around somebody else's house, and he's going, that's like... That's like you coming over to my house.
I found this.
For a piano lesson, and Ariel's in the kitchen, and she makes a noise, and you're like, I'm going to investigate!
You!
Who the hell are you?
Who are you?
Whatever you are, Eddie said, I've got you now. I've got you now. I wonder what Eddie's gonna do when he catches this guy. These kids in this... Let's see. All right. Without even looking back, Eddie jumped out the window and ran to the stone building. Snort, snort. Yeah! Eddie heard a sound from behind the swinging door. Eddie looked around, not a soul in sight. He could still hear the faint tinkling of piano keys from inside the house. Snort. Eddie gulped and decided to peek inside the old building. Slowly, he pushed back on the door. Eek! 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 Knock! Eddie poked his head into the dark building. He smelled hay, a musty smell, and then something that caused him to jerk his head back outside. Phew! Eddie said, gasping for fresh air. Something smells bad.
Is that the name of the chapter?
Phew is, yes. Whew. I think he's probably smelling the ganja, right? Something smells bad. He had smelled that smell before, but he couldn't remember where. And then if this was, on television, we'd cut to Grandma sitting there smoking, Oh, Grandma just needs some of the medicine, Eddie.
Her and her friends are just gonna...
You want a brownie? Holding his nose, Eddie squeezed through the door. This time he slid his whole body inside. It took a few minutes for his eyes to adjust to the dark building. A few minutes. So he's just standing there with a potentially murderous individual inside.
He's not good at this.
Finally, he could make out shapes along one wall. They were long, pointy shapes. Yeah. Triangle? Oh, that's a rectangle. That's an octagon. That's how you pronounce it. Octagon. Octagon. Some had blades at the end, but most were spear-like. Next to the spear-like things were swords. Maybe they're spears? Next to the spear-like things were swords. It looks like someone is getting ready for a full-scale war, Eddie whispered to himself. It looks like someone is getting ready for a full-scale war. Yeah, that's a good point, Eddie. Thanks, Eddie. I think Eddie has some things wrong with him. Sneaking around somebody else's house, running after phantoms, whispering to himself. Again, Grandma is smoking too much of that ganja. He's getting secondhand high. Snort. The sound caused Eddie to jump. Slowly, Eddie turned around to face the creature that had made the sound. A horse! Or rather, two people dressed up as a horse, as we previously established. A horse, Eddie said with relief. But it was no ordinary horse. Yeah, no shit. It was the giant black horse they'd seen Lance riding. Its legs were the size of telephone poles. That's
huge.
That's a huge horse. And its head nearly touched the ceiling of the old building. You sure have been taking your vitamins, Eddie said with a giggle. Snort, said the horse. That's how my grandma takes her vitamins too. She crushes them up and... Nice horsey, Eddie said, holding up a hand. I come in peace. Eddie stepped back until he bumped into a sword. He knocked over the sword, causing a chain reaction. Every sword fell over, and then the spears clattered down. They all crashed to the wooden floor. Oops, Eddie said. Said the horse. The suggestion here is that the horse went, snort. It's like... Fucking Clyde, Jesus, no!
Jeez, stop it!
What are you doing? Speaking your onomatopoeia out loud in English. We're undercover.
Snort.
Snort, said the horse, stepping still closer. Eddie tried to edge towards the door, but the horse had him trapped. The horse reached his huge nose towards Eddie, his hot breath blowing on Eddie's face. Clyde, stop it, Jesus.
What are you doing?
Ah! Eddie gulped. Don't eat me!
Oh.
Yes.
And then he ate him.
The end. The horse started chewing all right. He munched and munched. The horse has the munchies, Steve. It took Eddie a minute to realize the horse wasn't eating him. That seemed like a perfect place for a cliffhanger, too. R.L. Stine would have been all over that shit. The horse was eating the sugar cubes out of his pocket. When the horse was finished, it snorted and walked away. Eddie took the chance to zip out the swinging door. When he was outside, he gasped. Whew! That was a little too close for comfort, he said to himself. Then he smelled the terrible smell again. It was very strong this time. Oh no, Eddie said as he looked down. He suddenly remembered where he had smelled that smell before. The Bailey City stables had that same smell. It was horse manure! And Eddie was standing in a huge pile of it. Well, that's all that we have time for tonight, Steve. Chapter 6 tomorrow. We'll find out if Eddie ever gets his foot out of that giant steaming pile of shit.
Can't wait.
Good night, Steve.
All right, Mike.